Another food processing plant fire happened yesterday in Montebello, California. California has experienced its share of devastating processing plant fires. Back in April, a massive fire at Salinas, California broke out in the key agricultural region, where tens of thousands were forced to evacuate their homes.
Some internet sleuths are doing the heavy lifting for us, so we wanted to put this on the map on the screen from Z-Maps. This shows the alarming rate of fires at manufacturing plants, grocery stores, food pantries, farms, and grain factories. It's likely that over 100 of these fires have taken place just this year. Just this month, the Graincraft flour mill in Pendleton, Oregon was completely destroyed, and even tens of thousands of chickens were killed in a May fire in Minnesota. So let's take another look at the map. Let's look at the manufacturing fires alone. The black markers show that this is happening across the country, especially in California and in the Midwest East Coast. Now let's see the grain map. Oregon, Washington, and Pacific Northwest appear to have taken a hit, as well as the Midwest. And as far as farm fires go, let's look at these green markers appearing in droves from Minnesota to Wisconsin, Michigan, and all down the East Coast. Now, there has been a lot of conspiratorial discussion online about these. People from Tucker Carlson to Charlie Kirk are asking whether this is an intentional threat on our food system, and if there's really something to see here. What do you make of it, Robby?
Well, actually, let's play that a bit of Tucker's show. This guest, Jason Rantz, talking about it on Tucker Carlson. Let's play that.
Good to see you. Yeah, obviously, when something happens every so often, you obviously hope that there's no significant damage and certainly no one gets hurt, but you kind of write it off. It's not that big of a deal. Accidents happen. But when you've got well over a dozen food processing plants and warehouses getting destroyed or seriously damaged over just the last few weeks, at a time when the food supply is already vulnerable, it's obviously suspicious, and it could lead to serious food shortages. That's why some folks are now wondering, well, number one, what's going on? And you've got some people speculating that this might be an intentional way to disrupt the food supply.
Wait, may I ask you to pause there really quick? Can I just ask you, I just want to nail this down so our viewers understand. There have been confirmed over a dozen disabling accidents at food plants in the last month, over a dozen.
Absolutely.
So I'm looking at this, some reporting from the Manhattan Institute, which is a conservative think tank that does some journalism that I think is interesting. And they're saying that this is not outside the statistical. There's nothing statistically amiss here. This is within the normal number of fires that occur. And National Review, which is also conservative, has done some reporting on this, suggesting that they're not being labeled as arson. So if it's nefarious, if it's like deliberate, someone's trying to sabotage the food supply, they're doing it's very subtle. Looks too subtle to be deliberate.
One was, I think, an airplane crashed into a facility. They're all different kinds of things. There was also a fact check on Reuters titled "Fact Check: Food Processing Plant Fires in 2022 are not part of a conspiracy to trigger U.S. food shortages."
All right, on the plane crash specifically, at a Georgia General Mills plant. If pilots, this is City Journal, if pilots were making kamikaze attacks on food plants, it'd be very frightening. News that a student pilot and his instructor actually crashed 300 yards from the food facility. That's sad, but hardly ominous. Like, there's no way that would be I mean, that actually starts to sound like Russian disinformation, like Russian plotting plan. Oh, the Russians paid them to crash the thing near the like that's what an unhinged liberal would say.
That's the world we live in, and I'm curious. Like I am seeing this on my feed. Obviously,
you're seeing it a lot. I've never seen any of this today.
High-profile people like Tucker Carlson are doing segments on their show. Is this part of a kind of greater campaign to divide up working Americans, to make them turn on each other, to make them fear food shortages?
Now that's the conspiracy.
I mean, that's not a conspiracy. That's just the way the world has always operated.
I don't know about that. I understand why people are not at all satisfied by annoying fact checks from PolitiFact and Snopes and Reuters, because they get things all the time.
Yeah.
You know, this is not. And right, they lead with for this Reuters fact check, they put up a Charlie Kirk tweet. Food processing plants don't just accidentally burn down at this rate. They certainly don't coincidentally become landing pads for plane crashes at this rate. Our food supply is under attack. So that is easily debunked, because you can just look at how many fires and accidental fires, electrical fires there are in the food sector, and as Reuters then does and says, so yes, they do accidentally catch fire, like all the time. Things accidentally catch fire.
And there are a lot more food processing plants than you'd might imagine
right.
in the United States. Yeah.
So, and like small planes crash, it does happen. So asserting that there must be something nefarious going on because of these is obviously wrong and easy to fact check. So the fact checkers always find the most like extreme right-wing person to debunk, and then
Well, I'm sure if Bernie Sanders was hand-wringing about the threat to our food supply that these fires present, then they would have used his tweet as well.
Oh, you think so?
But like I am seeing, I don't know, maybe it's not necessarily representative, but it does seem like this is a discourse that's been concentrated at least a little disproportionately in conservative media. And it is interesting to watch and to track because I do think it speaks to the idea that people do feel very vulnerable. There are real threats to our food system that are being caused by the war in Ukraine.
Right, but it's not malfeasance, that's policy. That's the government's policy. I mean, you want to put it the conspiracy to make us all hungry and poor, look to our government and its policies.
Yeah, so I mean, I think the problem with a lot of this misinformation, including the stuff that Russia has been accused of spreading, is that it is very close to the truth, if not true. Russia promoting Facebook posts about how America treats its black citizens poorly is not so much misinformation as true information that's being wielded for their own political benefit. And the best way I would argue to solve that is to get at the root of the underlying problem and stop making that fact true. And so to the extent that we are experiencing this these food supply threats because of the ongoing conflict in Ukraine, I have some solutions for how they can stop that.
Let's de-escalate that war.
Yeah.
And then we could fix some of those problems.
Yeah.
It would be great if our government focused on that. But Amy Klobuchar and who was the Republican Senator Rob Portman were doing photo ops with Zelensky. So the war will continue because there's absolutely no
pressure.
no political pressure. In fact, there's bipartisan consensus on the idea that it should continue. Just no one speaking out against it except for like a handful of supposedly fringe Republicans or Republicans who are described as fringe on other issues. Only ones speaking up against it.
Yeah.
How interesting.
Yeah.
Tomorrow on Rising, Max Alvarez and Amy Tarkanian will join us to discuss various topics.
And you should be sure to like, share, and subscribe to Rising so that you never miss any content. And for those of you who like to listen on the go, we are now available anywhere you listen to podcasts. So do tune in. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you tomorrow.
See you tomorrow.